Hey, Colonel Liam here, and today I'm going to show you how to make a gaming chair out of a powered driver's seat from a car or truck or whatever vehicle you're using. But basically, we're going to be using the powered seat from the driver's side or passenger side, whichever you prefer. So here we go. The way that this came about is I was changing the seats in my car. It's a 2001 Pontiac Grand Prix, in case you wanted to know. And well, anyway, so I got some different seats and I put them in my car. The connector and everything I had to change, so I had everything needed to make this chair. I haven't had really any need for a gaming chair, nor have I wanted one up to this point, but since I had this on hand and didn't really have anything to do with it, this was a pretty cool project and it works out really good. So, with some gaming chairs being very expensive, I figured that this would be useful information for someone that wanted to do this project. Of course, you're going to need a seat. Any automotive seat is going to work. What I have created here is a powered gaming chair, but if you did not have access or you just had a regular seat hanging around with just the manual recline function, you could just use it like it is, and that would be all you would have to do. But I had a power driver seat which has the forward back, which that function is pretty much useless because there's no steering wheel, so you don't really need to move back and forth. But you have the forward up and forward down, and then the back up and back down, so you can kind of make it recline a bit more or go forward, and then just do the top or just do the front. So that's what I have done here. So if you're wanting to do something like this, you're going to need a powered seat. Some vehicles have power passenger seats, so either a driver or passenger seat is going to work. This you can pick up, and if you don't have one of these on hand, you can pick them up from a junkyard pretty reasonably. I imagine you could talk them down a really good bit, and you could probably pick up this really cheap at a junkyard. So, of course, nicer seats are going to be more expensive. So, if you do have to go and pick out one, you'll get to get one that you choose. This one, whereas this one I'm kind of stuck with because this is what I had on hand. So you'll need this, and then you will need a power source, which for me, I'm using this power brick. You will need a 12 to 14 volt power adapter, and this one is 12 volts, and you're going to need a amperage of at least 5 amps. This will probably work, or I would say a good range for your amps is 5 to 10. If I had to, this I had just on hand from an old printer, but if I had to order one or buy one, I would go with a 10 amp if I had to do it again, but this one works really well. So, anything else is just going to be extra, make it run a little bit, the motors run a little bit faster, but this, you can use a power adapter. When the car is running, it's going to, with the alternator and everything kicked on, it's the maximum voltage that this seat will probably get is somewhere around 14.4 volts. So as long as you don't exceed that, you'll be okay. Of course, anything under 12 volts is not really going to work that well. So, try to get something between 12 and 14 volts, or I would say 14 and a half volts. And then, don't exceed that for sure. And then something between 5 and 10 amps. So, this is what I had on hand. I used a 2 amp to begin with, and it wouldn't engage the motor. So, it has to be at least 5 amps if you're going to do this. And to the wiring. So my car has a thick gauge orange for the positive in, and then a thick gauge black cord for the ground or negative cable. So you're going to need to find these two. If your vehicle, most GM vehicles are going to have this sort of similar layout, all of these are connected into the car originally. And if you're pulling this from a donor vehicle, you're wanting this connector, then you'll need to make sure that the battery is disconnected from that vehicle. I actually pulled this seat from a vehicle that still had the battery in it. I thought that it wouldn't get power with the key off, and I was wrong. What I did was I accidentally bridged a connection and blowed the fuse. So that could have caused a lot more damage than just blowing the fuse. Luckily, that's all I did. But make sure that you remove the positive or negative battery terminal, just to disconnect power to this seat when you do this. So you can, well, what I chose to do was run it into the stock car plug here, but you could, to kind of make a quick disconnect thing, but you could wire it just as easily into the seat itself, bypassing this connector, obviously, or you could add some other type of quick disconnect to the positive and negative terminals if you don't like this plug, or you feel it's too bulky, or whatever. But I just chose to stick with this. So but like I was saying, most of your GM vehicles are going to have this similar layout with the thick gauge orange cable being your positive. You also have this thinner gauge positive lead. It's also 12 volts, but it would go to a heated seat if you had that in your seat. This one doesn't, so it doesn't even have it up here. So you're going to use your thicker gauge orange cable. If you're unsure, if your vehicle doesn't look like this, you don't have an orange cable, usually you'll have more than one of your positive lead, like I was saying. So you'll have maybe a red or something like that. Try to find the cable that has multiples, and then test it with the voltmeter. And make sure you pick the highest gauge. Make sure that you are getting the right positive lead and negative lead. Usually your negative lead is going to be black or brown, so just find it and then test the other connections to find your positive. Some of your power bricks are going to have 3 lines. I know a lot of the Dell power bricks are going to have a third line for testing, or well, it sends a signal to your device, whether it be a laptop, or usually they're with laptops that have that third line, and it tells the computer whether it's a genuine Dell charger or not. And some of the functionality of the laptop is lost if it's not a genuine Dell charger. So if you have that third cable, don't worry, you don't need that. Just make sure that you know which one is positive and which one is negative. Again, you can test that with a voltmeter. But once you have your positive and negative leads identified, you'll wire the positive lead into the orange, and then your negative lead into the black, or whatever colors your car happens to be. In my case, they're orange and black. So it's okay to leave these disconnected as long as they're not running to anything else. Like mine is not running, even none of these except for this black with the white stripe. None of them are actually even running up here, so they're dead ends. So it's okay to leave those unshielded or uncovered. So because even if they touch, they're not going to do anything. This one, I don't even have the seat belt attached, so that's not going to make a difference. Even if it did, it wouldn't make a difference, because it's it doesn't have power or anything. So even if it connects to something, it's not going to make a difference. But so I was kind of lazy. What I would do or suggest is cut all these all the way back, or actually pull the pins out of the connector to make it look a little bit neater. But that's what I did. So another thing that you'll probably run into is you'll have your seat belt connector here, and it actually has a lead that I removed that connects here. All you'll have to do is just disconnect that if it's hard to get to, like the seats that I had put into my car that I swapped these out for. The connector was extremely hard to pass through this little piece in the frame, and then you had to kind of wiggle it out and mess with it. So instead of doing that, I just cut it right here, and then just wired in the other one like that. But if it's easy to get to, just unplug it. If it's not, just cut it. Either way, it's not going to make a difference. Just make sure that, it's neat. Anyway, that is what you would do to create a gaming chair out of a power seat. Like I said, you can use a driver or passenger side seat. The instructions should be the same. Your seat may have additional functions. Mine has the manual recline, like I showed you earlier. If you are getting one from a junkyard or something, you may want to get one kind of more souped up. If you're just going for a great gaming chair, with some basic motorized functionality, then this sort of seat is going to be perfect for you. But it's actually very comfortable, and like I said, I felt like, and I've actually played some games in it, and I've really enjoyed it. Because the only other furniture that I've had in here is this futon, which is like a sofa bed type thing, and this is a whole lot more comfortable than that is. So anyways, I really enjoyed using it, and I felt like you guys would appreciate the information. So, anyway, thanks. See you later. Bye.